Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You made it to episode 607. Can you believe it? It's
wow.
a show of love, you bet. And we've got Eileen with us. Eileen is a former producer, and then co-producer of the founder of the Hemp Fest. Yes, and two growing children too.
That's right. Emerald Empire Hemp Fest,
yes.
Cannabis Television.
Yeah.
All about Eugene, and
that's right.
Boy.
Yeah, and I just got information on an event going on in Roseburg I thought I'd talk about. Our friend John Sajo sent this on Facebook, the Spring Fair, and this is the 41st year of Spring Fair. It's a 3-day event, April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at the Douglas County Fairgrounds in Roseburg. And got live music, including Baby Gramps. You know, if you people know Baby Gramps from the Country Fair. He's a great entertainer. And let's see, I don't know about admission or what it is.
Well,
here it is. Admission is $3, adults and over 12, 6 and 12 and over 65 is $2.50. So not a lot of money. So anyway, something to think about. Spring Fair and a lot of vendors, and that'd be a great event to go to. And then I wanted to, the Hemp Fest, I wanted to catch up on the Hemp Fest. We're still trying to get back into Maury Jacobs Park. We lost our first appeal, and we're working on getting to our second appeal. Our attorney, Brian Michaels, is helping us out with that. I hope that he might be in tonight and come in on the show, but I haven't heard from him. He's been meaning to come on the show quite some time, and he talks to us about legal things and what we're doing and what we should do and we shouldn't be doing. For instance, I wanted to talk to him, have him talk some more about the DRE officers. You remember that?
No, I don't. Drug
recognition experts. If an officer goes to school for 40 hours and completes the course, he is a drug recognition expert. So if a fellow cop or himself pulls over somebody, he is trained to recognize the signs that they may be showing impairment, and then he can ask the person to go for further training, testing. And what Brian described it to us before was submitting to a DRE officer is like consenting to a search. You never do it. They may do it anyway, but you never consent to it, because as Brian said, if you consent to it, I've got nothing to fight with. If you don't consent to it, at least I have that to fight with. And
so they pull you over, and how do you know that
they pull you over, and I guess they say, I'm led to believe that you're impaired, and I'd like to do so. Would you submit to a DRE evaluation? And at that point, you could say yay or nay, and you can't be punished for either answer, you know. Just like searching your car, you know, they'll try to intimidate you, and they'll scare you, you know. I mean, you know, I'm an old guy, and the cops still scare me. They got the badge and the gun, you know. So.
But we have the right to say no.
But it's right, exactly, and that's the thing. And it's just like and this is the thing I've come to over the years, is if you keep your head, that's what you've got to do, is keep your head and don't panic. And that's why. And over the years, I thought about giving out little driving tips, because being a professional driver all my life, I got a lot of little driver's tips, you know. And for instance, carry your smoke. Of course, nowadays it's not quite so important with the smell of pot in your car, but even then, it's still a good idea to cover your smell, and that way you don't have anybody nosing around. But you use the baking bags, the plastic baking bags. They're very inexpensive. You can buy them at any supermarket, made by Reynolds. And other brands, but Reynolds is the main one. And something about that plastic, you put your herb in that bag and give it a couple of twists, and you won't smell it. I'm not saying it'll defeat a dog, but you don't have that skunky smell that floods the whole car, you know. So anyway, just things like that. And then different things about driving, about, for instance, reading the road. That's another one of my favorites. Read the road. Keep the eye, just not steadily look at it, because you got to be looking everywhere else too, but keep an eye on the car. I mean, keep an eye on the road in front of you, because you can see things coming up. For instance, if you see a big kind of a funny looking dark spot, there's a good chance that there's a pothole. You may not see the pothole, but that oil, you'll see it, because what it is these old cars are leaking oil, and they hit that bump. When they do, it splatters oil. See, so many cars keep doing it, it's like a painting, and so it starts building up, and you'll see spots on the road, so you can, you know. But anyway, I'm going off on driving. Anyway, speaking of driving, I wanted to talk a couple of things that is really interesting, I thought. We had an accident here not long ago, and I say here, actually Marion County. But with the legalization of marijuana, there's been a lot of talk about people driving impaired. And this was March 12th. It was on the OregonLive.com, which is the Oregonian internet version of the paper. And this is by Molly Young, called "Driver Arrested After Investigators Link Marijuana Use to Fatal Marion County Crash." Says deputies believe a 36-year-old Amity woman was high when she caused a deadly Friday afternoon crash in rural Marion County. Jessica J. Macon was driving her 2 children when she missed a curve and slammed her SUV into 2 oncoming cars, according to a statement issued by the Marion County Sheriff's Office. The driver of the first car, Philip Rivera, 52, of Salem, was killed. The man driving the second car, Mario Paccio Jr., 24, of Silverton, suffered minor injuries. The men worked together at Highland Laboratories, a company that makes natural supplement in Mount Angel. They were 5 miles from work when the crash occurred near the intersection of Newsom Road Northeast and Howell Prairie Road. Emergency crews responded to the scene at 2:45 p.m. Macon's 10-year-old son and 13-year-old child were treated at Silverton Hospital for minor injuries. The sheriff's officers charged Macon with second-degree manslaughter, intoxicated driving, reckless driving, 3 counts of reckless endangerment, and 3 counts of 4th-degree assault, according to a statement issued by the Marion County Sheriff's Office. She's being held without bail at the Marion County Correctional Facility. Now, we don't know the details of that. We don't know how or why they determined that she was using marijuana and why she was impaired, so we don't know. But that's something that we've been told to watch out about. I think Nevada has set 5 nanograms is the limit, and yet there is no level that's been determined that they're actually impaired. They just pick that level. And so, anyway, but I found an article that this was in the Forbes magazine, and March 17th, written by Jacob Sullum. New study suggests marijuana impact on crash risk has been greatly exaggerated. And I remember that. I remember there was a story we did years ago. I think it was England that they did some tests, and they actually found that people that were smoking pot
were better drivers.
Were actually better drivers. They actually did better because they were more cautious. That's one of the jokes you talk about, somebody sitting at a street light and stoned, and they're sitting there and he's, "What are you doing, waiting for a color you want, a better color you like better?" Or something like that. But, yeah, this is, it starts out, pot prohibitionists frequently warn that legalization will flood the roads with dangerously stoned drivers, leading to a surge in traffic fatalities. So far, there is not much evidence of such a surge in Colorado or Washington, where marijuana was legalized in 2012. A new study may help explain why. It looks like marijuana's impact on traffic safety has been greatly exaggerated. Reporters and anti-pot activists commonly warn that marijuana use doubles the risk of a car crash. Even if that were true, toking would pale in comparison to drinking as a road hazard, since research indicates that a blood alcohol concentration of 0.10% quintuples the risk of an accident. But according to the analysis that's about to be published by the journal Addiction, the decrease in crash risk associated with marijuana use is roughly 20 to 30%, as opposed to the widely cited estimate of 92%. So the thing is anti-people will use these figures and tweak the figures. You know, what's that joke about? Well, anyway, some joke about statistics and how they can be bent and turned around and things like that. But we've said. I know for years we've been talking about that, saying that we don't believe that a person is more impaired when they're smoking. Yeah, you know.
Well, I know that alcohol impairs.
Oh, definitely.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I tried driving a motorcycle drunk once, and I did not like it. I mean, I didn't wreck or anything, but I didn't try very long. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like the feel, didn't I?
It's dangerous.
Of course, I call alcohol stupid juice.
Stupid juice, alcohol, I know.
Yeah, you drink it, it makes you stupid. Why would anybody want to drink something that tastes bad and makes you stupid? I don't get it, but that's just me, I guess. So anyway, yeah, this is a 4-page article, and I really don't have time to get into it right now, but the thing is like we all suspect, is that the
people that don't like pot are really...
Exactly, and the situation is nowhere near what they expected it was going to be, or it seems to be going that way.
Yeah. Is that from Forbes magazine, you said?
Yeah, Forbes magazine.
Of what date?
March
Forbes,
17th.
March 17th.
This month, so... Yeah, and it says driving a vehicle while under the influence of marijuana is a significant public safety concern, the report says. Fatal motor vehicle accidents attributable to marijuana-impaired operators tripled between 1999 and 2012. That claim carelessly conflates drivers who test positive for marijuana, including residual THC and non-stackable metabolites, with impaired drivers. The same mistake underlines claims such as marijuana is involved in 1 out of every 9 fatal car crashes a day, as a campaign against legalization in California asserts. Politicians are in such a panic about stoned driving that they are willing to endorse legislation they concede has no scientific basis, legislation that is bound to result in the conviction of innocent drivers who pose no threat to the public. Advocates of that policy simply assume that required proof of actual impairment, as Massachusetts currently does, is too demanding in the face of the increase in cannabis consumption they anticipate as a result of its legalization. This response is unfair, premature, and disappropriate given what we actually know about marijuana's impact on public safety. So we'll be hearing more about that in the future, but the main thing is don't buy the hype, because you're definitely safer using marijuana. I know when I drove truck on the highway, semi, there were people that were smoking, but I had no problem with that. It was the people that were doing, there was drinking and on meth that were the root problems, and the meth especially. Yeah, the meth, people get into that and really get messed up and messes up their heads, you know, and their lives too, of course. But so we come back, we're going to be talking about the research about smoking marijuana that causes complete Crohn's disease remission in 45% of patients. So that's something we want to check out about. And we appreciate Eileen for being here with us, and we're going to be back when we get to the second half here in a minute, and thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you. We'll talk more about the Emerald Empire Hemp Fest coming up this summer. And
you bet. And they've got the, yeah, we're going to have a big season coming up. We've got the Umpqua Hemp Fest in Roseburg, and of course, hemp stock in Portland too yet, so that'll be next summer. But yeah, it's going to be a heck of a year. I say next summer, actually this fall. So stay tuned, because we'll be right back, and we'll be right here. So we sure hope you will be too. So see you shortly. Welcome back to the second half of the Eugene Cannabis TV show, episode 607. And you've got a couple of old-timers here. You got an old fart me and this young lady beside me here. So, Eileen, appreciate you coming in.
Old-timers.
You bet.
You and me.
You bet. Yeah. And we were just talking about David a little bit ago, and he gave me a DVD that I should give to you. It's a real early show of you, and you can probably identify the people on the show. They look familiar, but I can't quite place them. But anyway, I got to give that to you.
Yeah, we got some old shows. This has been going on for, what, 15 years now?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. I mean, we're episode 607, and go to Eugene Cannabis, go to YouTube and look up Eugene Cannabis TV and pick your episode. And we've got some great ones, and we got to get some older ones up. They're still on VHS, so we got to get them on to digital. But yeah, and I wanted to talk about, we had Mark Miller and, I've forgotten the other guy's name, but Mark Miller and his friend on with the initiative that they're working on, and so I wanted to talk about that again, because this is a really a neat deal. Oh yes, Larry Becker, that's it, Mark Miller and Larry Becker. It says, this is off their website. This is let's see, restoretheInitiative.org. It says, this past year the Oregon Legislature and Governor quietly created a constitutional crisis, apparently hoping no one would notice. As at stake is nothing less than the power of the Oregon voters to enact laws on their own and to reject legislative laws we don't like. Power is guaranteed by the Oregon Constitution since 1902. And we had Larry Becker and Mark Miller on the show, and they're the chief petitioners of the proposed constitutional amendment for the 2016 state election. They filed an amendment and began gathering petition signatures, and when they learned that in the 113 years Oregon voters have been enacting laws through the initiative, whenever the legislature tried to change one, they declared a referendum, an election where a majority of voters must approve. This makes sense. Initiative laws would have no real meaning if the initiative and governor can ignore them whenever they wish. Yet in 2014 and 2015, the legislature passed SB 1531 and SB 3400, making major changes to both the Oregon Medical Marijuana Act, first passed by voters as Measure 67 in 1998, and to Measure 91, legalizing use of marijuana, passed by voters in 2014. The legislature not only refused to declare a referendum on these bills, it also declared an emergency, blocking voters from holding a referendum on their own. The governor signed both bills into law. This marks the first time in Oregon history the legislature and governor have simply ignored laws passed by Oregon voters. If the legislature and governor can simply ignore Measure 67 and 91, then every initiative law, past and future, is at risk. The legislature and governor have now openly defied the will of the voters and can no longer be trusted to respect the initiative process. As chief petitioners, we propose adding 2 sentences to the Oregon Constitution. A referendum on an act must be ordered by the Legislative Assembly by law if the act amends or repeals any initiative law, notwithstanding Section 15B, Article 5 of this Constitution. Bills ordering a referendum and bills on which a referendum is ordered are not subject to veto by the governor. When it passes, the amendment won't affect any law currently on the books, but it will guarantee that in the future, any legislative changes to an initiative will be subject to the voters' approval, as it has been now for well over a century. So that's really important, and we'll have that initiative at the anytime we're out in the public. I'm just trying to say we're going to be at it. I was going to say we're going to have it Tuesday, but you won't see this show till Wednesday. So
that sounds really important.
Like, it is, yes.
I mean, initiatives are.
Yeah, and that emergency clause, and that's really aggravating because if they feel that it's a need that really has to be immediate, they put an emergency clause on it so it goes into effect as soon as it's signed. Well, that in itself, think, well, that might be all right, but they abuse it, they overuse it. And the other part of that is that you're not able to have a referendum. In other words, you can't take it to the people, and anyway, it's really corrupt and it's really bad. So, if you'd like to get your name on this initiative or help gather signatures, let us know. Saturday market is starting this coming Saturday, and that'd be a good place to be out there with initiative. So, I hope to have some people working on it. So, and it's really important because look at Measure 91, you know.
Yep, that's
We
right.
said will not affect the medical marijuana program, and it's done major changes. And even my own legislature, Lee Byer, you know, he's got about one of the worst records of marijuana legislation there is, and he's still got, I think, 3.5 years on his term yet to go. So, oh boy, oh, what a mess.
Well, that's a Saturday market. This happening this Saturday.
Yeah, starting this Saturday. It's the first one of the year, and we used to have a booth there every Saturday, but we haven't been doing it too much lately, just mainly because, shortage of people to do it. Also, cigarette smoke.
Oh yeah.
We have a bunch of the people down there smoking cigarettes upwind from our booth, and so I'm standing there smelling cigarette smoke, which is another thing.
It's
You know, and then you got the drum music that goes on continuously, it's
Yeah.
mind-numbing noise. So it's really unfortunate, but the worst thing of it is that we found that we set up the booth, but the people we really need to talk to are over at Saturday Market. But the majority of them aren't coming over where we're at.
Right. In the Free Speech Plaza.
In the Free Street Plaza, yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, unfortunately, all we need is to be out on the corners of the market. And so, if we had some people doing that, it'd be great. Actually, gathering signatures like that is kind of fun. It's tiring. It's harder than it looks, but it's also rewarding because you get to talk to a lot of people.
Yep, that's
Meet
right.
a lot of people, and especially with this type of issue, I'm going to say with marijuana issues themselves, I've gathered signatures for a lot of initiatives, and I found that marijuana initiatives by far have more interest than any other initiative out there.
Sure,
I've had people that just came looking for it because they
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
sign it. You know?
Isn't there another event also going on tomorrow night at Cosmic Pizza?
Yeah, but it'll be over by the time this gets on the air. So
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I just found out about that a few days ago, and I wish I'd known and could have said it. Well, we didn't have a show last week anyway, so I guess it was a mute point anyway. But yes, but definitely do a shout out for OG Analytical and Oregon Constant Gardener for putting on these shows. Presentations. They're at Cosmic on the corner of 8th
and Charlton.
Thank you. Yes, 8th and Charlton, 199 West 8th. I remember correctly. And it's at 6 o'clock, and it's the last Tuesday of every month. Take your calendar and mark that. The last Tuesday of every month, be at Cosmic at 6 o'clock. Great presentation. It's all different variations of things about marijuana, and you learn so much there. Yeah. And again, we really appreciate OG Analytical and Oregon Constant Gardeners both. Actually, Oregon Constant Gardeners have been sponsors of the HempFest. I sort of say they both have, but OG Analytical hasn't yet. But probably the main reason, I just haven't been over to talk to them. They good chance. I think they probably do that. They're good people, really good people. And yeah, speaking of the HempFest, like I said, we talked about it a bit earlier. We're still working on the venue. We've experienced what I've labeled as subtle hostility. The last few years, they just haven't been nearly as easy to work with, and just seem to have a chip on their shoulder somewhat. We've been trying to get into Alton Baker Park for, I don't know, can't tell you how many years, so we just haven't been able to get into Alton Baker Park. They have a lottery system, so if one person asks for a park for a certain time, then they have this lottery, and it sounds like it's a really fair idea, but in reality it's a real total joke, and we have been denied Alton Baker Park because of that convoluted system. Until 2 years ago. I don't know if it was 2 years ago or 3. I think it was 2 years ago. We actually won the lottery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But we didn't do it at Alton Baker?
No, because the city had a hold on that weekend, and they might want to use the park for the parking area because of an event that they were going to be doing, and it turned out that they did exercise that option. So even though we finally won the lottery, we still got skunked and didn't get to Alton Baker Park.
Wow.
And the irony of that is that they told us in 2003, and that's when the one time we did have our event there, that they prefer big events at Alton Baker Park because the grounds are actually set up for that. The grass, the turf, everything about that whole setup is set up for big events. And so that's where we should be and should have been all these years. And so we ended up doing the Washington Jefferson Bridge and Park and made that work for a number of years and did real well with it. Some people complained about it, and so we decided to try to move. And well, they were going to put it in the skate park, and so we decided, oh, let's go ahead and move. And so we moved to Morris Jacobs. First year was a rough year, a new park and bad coordination among some of my people. Anyway, we broke our, anyway, we ticked off the parks people by breaking a few rules. But next year we came back and they told us if we didn't do it right, we wouldn't have a park. And so we came back the next year and did real well. In fact, we did so well that they told us, we're looking forward to working with you next year. And so we went from that to, anyway, I said this hostility thing. So anyway, but it will happen. When the Hemp Fest will happen, if we have to find a new venue, so be it. We'll find a new venue, and we're looking at some interesting ideas for that. Right. And so it's definitely going to happen. Like I say, it's keeping it free since 2003.
That's right.
So it's a labor of love, and so I appreciate. Oh, and then I got talking and didn't finish the story. But yeah, new research says smoking marijuana causes complete Crohn's disease remission in 45% of patients, and that's on the healthandwellness.pw website. So anyway, I appreciate Eileen coming in this evening, and it's quite difficult for Eileen because she hasn't got any wheels, so it makes it even harder to get here because at the Sheldon High School we're clear off of River Road and back on Willow Gillespie, so
it's great to be here, Dan.
So you bet. Well, thanks for coming, and we will be back next week. And invitation, always come down to visit. We have a guest tonight came in to visit with us and check out the show. And you're welcome to do the same. Love to see you, love to hear from you. So this is DanK and Eileen, and we're saying goodbye, and we'll see you next time. We'll be here, or I'll be here, somebody will be here. See you then.
See you later.
Hey.